Hi everyone, it's Andy from Hobby Headquarters. Well, I've got an exciting new kit to share with you guys today. This is a brand new, 100% brand new tooling kit from Tamiya. This is the 35th scale M551 Sheridan, and this is a U.S. airborne tank from the Vietnam era. Now, right off, you might notice that this is a white box, and if you guys aren't familiar with that, a white box is an early test shot of the kit that they send out to us to, to build up. And the main difference is this is pretty much the way the final appearance is going to be on it, but the plastic is going to probably be a white or a gray plastic inside, whereas the kit when it comes out will be on olive drab plastic. But I was just briefly going over the parts inside. Looks like it's a really easy, straightforward kit. It has link tracks inside of it, and actually a little bit larger kit than I actually thought it was going to be. So I guess I never saw an M551 Sheridan in person, because it's a decent sized little vehicle. It's a decent sized vehicle, I should say. So very excited about getting started about this. I know there's been a lot of buzz on the internet about a brand new Sheridan. It's great to see. So let's get started. Okay, since this is a brand new toolkit, what I'd like to do is take a look at all of the parts inside of it first, and we'll kind of show you all the sprues up close, and then right after I'm done talking, I'll have like some still shots of it. If you want to take a closer look, you can stop the film at any time. As you can see, this is probably what the box art is going to look like. I did notice that the item number is a little bit different than what I actually have pre-ordered for my store. That's going to be a 35 number. So this is, like I said, one given out as test shot samples, pre-production example. First thing we're going to look at is going to be the hull and turret. They're both on one big giant sprue. And you can see the hull is made up of multiple different pieces here, as well as the turret. Pretty easy and straightforward, I'd say. And then on this sprue we have the figures, Vietnam figures, as well as the barrel. You can see the barrel is slide molded, and there is rifling. Let's see if we can get it closer up in there. There is rifling inside the barrel. And then you have like the shield for the 50 cal. The 50 cal is done up right here in multiple pieces. And there's even a little M16 right there. And then the next piece we're going to look at is this one. This one has a lot of the accessories on it. Part of the inside of the breech, the cupola, things like that. Some of the detail of the tools. Here's the rest of the 50 cal with the shells and the other half of the receiver. I'm not quite sure what this big piece is right here. And this is not slide molded, but it is hollowed out as part of the barrel there. And the rest of the tools on it. And then you're going to have two sprues of this, and this is like what I was telling you earlier. This is link tracks, and one really long length for the entire top, as well as this bottom piece right here, and then the slightly curved. Hopefully you can see it right there. Curved pieces as they go up and around the drive sprocket and idler. Your suspension pieces, road wheels, all of that. And like I said, there are two of those inside there. And then we have, this is the upper part of the hull. Give you a quick shot of that one right there. There is also, I didn't open this yet. I like to leave these in the bag until we're ready to show them, just so we don't scratch up any of the clear parts. You can see there's lots of clear parts for the periscopes, goggles for the guys, and some, looks like windows for something else on it there. And put that back in there. And finally, the last little piece in here is the accessories pack. So we have some tow cable stuff, which is copper wire, some plastic tubing, some screws, and then they use a nylon mesh in there, and that is going to build up for the shield that's in the back there. It looks like it's like fencing that they put on it there. So I also believe, though, that there is going to be an aftermarket kit available for this, that this will be photo etch and the barrel will be metal. And the reason I say that is I saw test shots from Tokyo Model Show, and in the Tokyo Model Show the barrel was metal, and it appeared like this was going to be metal as well. Not 100% sure about this being metal, but I think there is going to be an accessory kit coming out on that. And finally, the last piece or thing inside there are the decals. There are two different versions inside this kit for building up 1969 Vietnam War era, and there's the actual number too. It's going to be 35365 is going to be the kit number throughout the world. So, and then also you get, now these will probably be in color when they finally do come out, because these are usually just photocopied for, actually no, I take that back. These are the real things that are going to be going out, because here is the color in there. So there's a breakdown, a nice color sheet, although the vehicle is all olive drab, you can see. And then these are actually real instructions too. So, oh well, no, parts are included, are prototypes, and may differ from the final product. So keep that in mind. There might be some slight variations as we go forward, that they might change up a few things just if they find that something wasn't exactly right. So now I'm going to show you some shots of the sprues, and then we'll start building the kit. Okay, we've got the portions of the lower hull all cut out and sanded, and now we are just going to go ahead and start assembling the individual side pieces. There are a couple of holes that are required to be drilled into the kit before you start doing all this assembly. And first they have a center stabilizer that's going to go down the middle, and these pieces right here, you'll kind of notice just kind of like click right into position here. And once that clicks in, yep. Oh, there it goes, yep. And we'll just go down the line and start gluing these into place. Now, like I was telling you, the new kit, when it finally comes out, will be in olive drab. Based on, you know, everything that Tamiya has ever done on all this stuff. But I actually kind of enjoy sometimes having the gray plastic, and that is because I have super dark carpets in here. And when you have dark carpets and you lose little gray or little olive drab parts into there, they're really hard to find, whereas these really stick out really well. So not a terrible thing having the olive drab, or not having the olive drab plastic, I should say. And that quickly, with a little glue on this side right here, we'll have basically most of the lower, and then this will just get attached up and through here as well. So I am going to go ahead, get these all fitted and dried for a little while, and then we'll come back and move on to the next step. Okay, now we're going to be gluing on some of these real super fine parts that go up inside. Then see if we can get as close as possible here. And all these little things get glued into place. And also, let's be right here, I've got these bottom of the suspension, and there is a little bit of a flat spot down there to line it up to make sure you've got it completely straight in there, because when we put the rest of the parts on, we obviously want them to line up properly. So there is about 12 of these little tiny things and 4 of these that we have to put in throughout the entire vehicle, which we're going to go ahead and finish up and do right now. Once we get that on there, there is a piece of armor plate that is going to get glued, and that's what those 2 little holes that we had drilled in are going to line up and pop right in there, and we'll glue the armor plate into place. Okay, we've got that armor plate in, and we're just gluing the last little bit of armor plate on the bottom. Comes up from the top. We've also attached the areas where the tow hooks go, and we're going to do the exact same thing now on the back. We get to attach the back panel here. A little cement on the bottom down here, and then we'll run a bead on the inside as well to secure all of this. And then we can put those same type of attachment points for the tow hooks right here in the front as well. And we've got quite a bit of the lower suspension, or the lower hull, excuse me, the bathtub actually done now. So now that we have this port, oh, I guess I should put some cement on that too. Now that we have this portion done, we can start working on the lower suspension. Okay, we've got one side of the suspension built up, and what I thought I would do on this side of the suspension, we would build this one up quickly and kind of just show you how the basically the parts go together. First of all, there's the drive sprocket in the back that has a poly cap inside, and that'll be good when we need to adjust the suspension arm, or excuse me, not suspension arm, the drive sprocket teeth for the tracks. Now, each one of the individual arms on here are labeled a certain way. So in the middle three here, we have this piece, and it's got a little notch on it, so you can only put the suspension arm in the correct way, which that is always very helpful. That way they stay perfectly, the right distance off the ground, so you don't have wheels sticking up in the air or anything like that later. And before you do cut off all of the arms, definitely keep an eye on the instructions, because there are 2 that go on one side and 2 that go on the other side. And they look similar, but it'll just save you a little bit of time trying to figure out which is which if you just cut them off as you need them. And that is pretty much the entire thing. And then we just have to go ahead in here, and you got to come at it from this direction, drop the suspension arm, or excuse me, the shock inside there, and that'll just glue right into place. And there's just 2 of those we need to take care of, and that is pretty much done. And then we can move on to assembling the wheels, which I've already done here, I should say, and we're going to go ahead and glue those into place as well. Okay, with all of the suspension arms glued into place, we can go ahead and put the drive sprocket on, and we've got 5 wheels that we've got all sanded up here. And finally, the last but not least, the idler up front, like that. And then with that done on both sides, we have the majority of the lower hull, other than putting the tracks on, which the tracks, since we've about to do into that, are Lincoln links like we showed you earlier on. So here's our real long piece that is actually doesn't have a built-in sag, but they've made it soft enough that it can flex. So we can actually get our built-in sag just by flexing it across the top of the tracks. So let me get all the wheels glued into place, and then we'll start working on the tracks. Okay, I'm going to show you quickly how the tracks go together. Won't show the entire process because it's pretty easy and straightforward. So we have our long length piece right here, and that is going to represent the top of the vehicle, or the top of the wheels, and then it's just a matter of putting together the 5 individual tracks, which we will brush a little bit of liquid cement across the top. That'll soften them enough and get them to stick together. And then we have like little links that have the curve already in them like this. This will also get glued in here. And so we'll glue all these pieces together, let them set up for a good 5-6 minutes till the glue is not tacky anymore, but still soft enough that we can wrap it around. And we're going to put all the tracks together, everything except for the very bottom flat run. And then I'll show you what, as soon as I get that all done, I'll show you how it wraps around the vehicle. Okay, so here is that segment of track that I put together. It is not completely set up yet. So now what we can do is we can get it to just wrap around. And this is why having that drive sprocket with the poly cap in there helps, because we can adjust it just accordingly, just where we want it. Get that to be put into place, and then all we have to do is go ahead and glue the bottom piece of track in. And very easy and simple enough. You have your track links, and then once they're done, that's what they'll look like on the other side. So I will go ahead and glue these on, and then we'll start working on the upper part of the hull. Okay, now we can start gluing together the upper part of the hull. And we have this back panel right in here that is going to get glued into place. We'll put a little more cement on it in a few seconds there. Then we also have the tub that holds the driver, and that has some pins that'll get it glued right into place there. We've also installed a few poly caps on here as well, and that is to get the hatch to open and close on that. Get that glued on there. And something that I really happy that they put on this too is we have some sponson covers here. So we'll be able to glue these into place here, and what that'll do is that'll block any light that if you leave the turret open you won't be able to see inside to the wheels. So I will get those covers put on, let this dry for a little while, and then we can move on to the next step. And with part of the upper hull put together. We can go ahead and dry fit this and see how it fits, and just as you would expect, it clicks together. So now let's put the rest of the accessories on the top of the hull. Okay, we can now start to assemble some of the upper parts of the hull here, including things like the front headlights, which we purposely have left the lenses off for right now just because we don't want to have to go over them and paint them, or mask them off, I should say. Now there is a clear piece of plastic that goes right in here, gets glued in from the bottom. We are going to have to go and mask that off later on because that gets glued right into place like that, and obviously it prevents you from putting it in once it's together. So we're going to get like the little tow hooks and things like that all put into place here, and then we'll come back and show you what it looks like. As you can see, I've gone ahead and put the rest of the accessory pieces, the little hooks, the light guards, as well as this piece of chain link fence that goes on the front here. And we've glued it into place and then put a few little pieces of wire that are included with the kit as it's been tied on. Now, the kit comes with this, it's that nylon mesh in there. And for the front here, it's okay. Now for the back, they also want you to take and cut up that nylon mesh into making screens. And they don't look terrible, but they're just not as nice as normally as photo etch is. So what I'm thinking is, because I'm almost positive I saw that there is going to be a photo etch kit for this coming out, what I might do is I'll leave this as for plastic right now, but I think I'm going to leave the mesh off the back here in anticipation that they're going to. If they do come out with them, great, I'll put them in place and repaint over the top there. If they don't, I can always put these back on. Just not thrilled with the mesh. For the front, it's fine, and we'll kind of play it by ear and see what happens on that. Now, while we started work on the turret, and all I've done is just glue basically these little pieces into place here. But what I want to show you guys is the mechanism. You would have thought normally they would just suggest you put a poly cap inside each one of this, but you actually end up building this little shock absorber that we'll show you. It's going to get mounted in here, and then the other side is going to get mounted in that little hook that is part of it, like that. And that is the piece that is going to control your up and down motion. Oh yeah, it's coming all the way through, that's why. And that'll be your barrel, so it'll stay nice and solid inside there. Now I've also gone ahead in this side of the turret. There are about 30 holes I think you have to drill into the turret to put all the little accessories on there. But there are little marks, which a few of them you can still probably see right here. I haven't done the real tiny ones yet. Make it kind of easy. Usually you would expect them to be on the back of the kit and just drill through. So let's get the rest of those holes drilled, and then we can start assembling the rest of the turret. So I've glued the top and the bottom of the turret together now. That was all pretty easy, straightforward stuff. We've got basically the mantlet right here that we will now slide on without glue. The next piece is part of the barrel. That's got a little tab that it slides into. And finally, we have the slide molded barrel that it too will slide right in. And so that quick and easy, we have the gun assembled on it. I've started to apply some of the little accessories on here as well. They're just minor little pieces that go on. But now there are quite a few little ammo bends and things like that that need to be built on the outside. So we will get to work building all those up, and then we will glue them into place as soon as we're done. Okay, let me show you what I've done here. I've gone ahead and installed all of the little ammo boxes, as well as the jerry can on the side there, as well as a few of the other accessories like the antenna hub. We've also gone ahead and built the cupola with all the armor plate around it, and assembled the 50 cal machine gun that'll drop into place here. Now you'll notice that we haven't attached this here, and that is because we're leaving this off. We're going to paint this separately so we can install the glass for the cupola, and then we can just glue the whole thing into place and have the glass all in place. We don't have to worry about masking all of that off. Now we are going to go ahead and glue in the searchlight, which we've also left the glass on that, so that's one less thing we have to worry about masking. And Tamiya has included some vinyl tubing. Get real close here for it. that hooks onto here and hooks onto here. And then we'll be able to go ahead and glue the searchlight into place too. We'll put a little glue on that vinyl tubing too to make sure it stays in place as well. So the only other thing I have to do really right now are the smoke dischargers, which are come off the sprue and have kind of a gnarly looking little bud you have to cut off there. So I've just taken a sanding stick and kind of cut it down so we can get it into that to get that nice and round and smooth. But other than that, they're going to go on pretty easy. There are a couple little tiny pieces that we need to glue in here that attach it in here, but very easy and straightforward. So after we get the smoke dischargers on it, we are pretty much done with the body and the turret and everything. We can actually go ahead and start painting. So I'm going to put the rest of those on and I'll show you what it looks like once it's done. Okay, here is our completed model, of course minus the tools that you see out in front there that will get all glued into place on the back here once we get it all painted up. As you can see, it's a pretty nice looking kit and went together really well. Now as for those grills, I did paint them up separately with a little primer to match up right here, and we're going to put them in place to see how they look. If they look pretty decent, we'll leave them on. If not, we'll wait for the photo etch to come out for it. But all in all, a very, very nice kit, very nicely detailed, and lots and lots of detail actually available on this kit. A little bit even more so than what Tamiya normally provides. So it's a very, very nice looking kit. Now, like I was saying, none of that stuff is glued on now, so we're ready to take it all apart so we can paint it, which we're going to do right now. I'm just going to show you, we're going to paint the entire model NATO black, including the tracks and all the rubber on the road wheels, and that will just actually remain NATO black the entire time. This is going to be our shadow coat, and after we got done with the black over the entire vehicle, we're going to highlight with just flat white panels, all like along the side, anything that we want to have just a slight faded appearance to it. And if you're not familiar with this technique, if it's your first video, we have lots of other videos on our channel that'll explain it in further. Okay, now we're going to use some Mission Model Paints US Army Drab, and we're going to start applying some light coats over the entire vehicle. We want to build this up gradually. That way we still see a lot of the light and dark effects show through. We don't want to put it on super heavy that it all just turns olive drab again. We want to be able to, like I said, see those highlighted spots. Okay, we have the paint on, as well as we've clear coated the entire vehicle. And after we clear coated, I started installing some of the glass lenses, like in the cupola, as well as up in the front here. One other lens I have to put on is the one for the searchlight. But what I thought I'd do right now is start putting on some of the decals. Now, there's not a lot of decals, but they are enough that it's going to give it a little contrast, especially to this dark olive drab. Oh, I just realized too, I do have to put the lenses in on the front driver's cupola too there. So let's start putting the decals on first. So this is what the mesh looks like on the back of the vehicle, and I just think it looks way too far out of scale, so I'm going to forgo this for right now. Okay, we've got all of the paint job sealed in now, and I'm just putting a thin coat of enamel thinner over it so we can start doing a little bit of weathering on it here. And we're just going to use a little streaking grime, a little light rust wash, kind of just pop them all over on this thing right here. And we're not going to go crazy on the weathering on this particular one. We want to just put some streaks and stuff. These are obviously supposed to be fighting in Vietnam. You're not going to see a ton of dust and type things, but quite a bit of I'm sure grime and even rust even on the tracks in here, which will, the outer edge are all metal, but the insides are a rubber pad, so we'll clean off anything we get on the rubber pads. But we'll put a little light rust wash, and then once we get that on there, we're just gonna take our brush, get rid of some of the excess on it here, just leave some light streaks going down the side. And we're going to go over, like I said, the entire vehicle this way, including all the road wheels, tracks, all that kind of stuff. I don't really want to mess too much with mud because this is going to be a display piece to show off the new kit, so we don't want to bury it too much inside, you know, too much mud, and which is probably realistic for it based on where it is. I'm just using a little of the grime down here to highlight some of the nuts and bolts. And finally, the other thing we're going to do is we're also going to take a little of Tamiya's black panel liner and just highlight some of these little areas in here. You can see how it just makes kind of things pop out a little bit. So let me go ahead and finish this up right here, and then we'll come back and show you what it looks like and see if there's anything else we want to add to it. As I've been going over it, I've actually been going ahead and putting a little bit extra of the light rust wash. Not necessarily as a rust, believe it or not, but looking at all the pictures, there was a lot of very red earth in the Vietnam area, and this kind of duplicates some of the red earth getting all over it, you know, when you splotch it on, kind of. So kind of liking the way that's turning out with the red on it. So we'll put a little extra, not crazy on it, but just enough to make it look like it's got a little bit of that red earth still embedded into the paint here. So we're going to keep working on that. We're also using the black panel liner to fill in these grates back here, since we are not putting the mesh on top of it until we get some kind of photo etch on it. Well, here we are. Here is our completed model, and as we'll give you a little 360 as we go around there. We did a little bit more rusting on the front fencing in here, as well as putting a little metallic powder on some of the other areas to give it kind of a look like it's like a chain link fence. And we also, as you can see, put the tools in place and finished up the weathering going all the way around. The kit itself was great. It was very, very easy and straightforward. There were a decent amount of parts on this one right here to give it a little bit more detail, including all of those ammo cans. Each one of those represented 6 parts each, so a little bit more than you are normally used to with a Tamiya kit, but I think they look really good once they're done. And as we go around here, the kit itself is due out, I believe, in late December, possibly early January, and this is in the United States. Unfortunately, I don't have any price on retail, but I'm guesstimating it's about $45 based on the yen price that's on the outer box there. Now, like I was telling you earlier, this is the prototype copy, so it's probably about 99% all the way there is how it's going to come out as a kit form based on the way we saw it, other than the fact that the plastic is definitely going to be a olive drab color. I also have to say, too, I'm very happy with the way the weathering came out. I have to admit, I was a little bit nervous going in on this that the weathering was going to be difficult. Anytime you have dark olive drab, it's kind of hard to make things pop out and look like it's, you know, worn and beat up. But I like the red rust color as well as the streaking grime, and mixing it together to kind of give it that, you know, that reddish earth that you'd see like in Vietnam. So I want to thank you guys as always for watching, and please stay tuned because we have many more videos coming.